July is a bit of a nexus point for space games as it straddles some rather large releases in both June and August. These particular releases arrive in very different forms, from heavyweight Star Citizen to newcomer Objects in Space. Let's take a look. Star Citizen has recently received a pretty large update, bringing it to alpha version 3.2.0. And the most significant new feature is mining gameplay, and this has been served to add another layer to the game whilst fleshing it out. Mining essentially has 5 separate aspects to it, and these work as follows. Prospecting for deposits. It's possible to scan and locate mineable deposits by using a ping mechanic. This will highlight collectible resources in the ship's UI. Scanning deposits. This gives further details on the discovered resources and will eventually reveal the contents. Fracturing. Now, fracturing is one of the main aspects of the mining process, and it's initially done using the ship's mining laser. This process will break the rock down into smaller chunks, and some of these will be further mineable, whilst others will be extractable. Extracting ore. The extraction process will actually move the ore into the ship's cargo. Selling ore. The gathered resources can then be sold at a variety of in-game locations. Now, mining is one of the many systems in the game that require a unique ship. This means that in order to mine, you will need a mining ship. Currently, the only way to obtain these is through the pledge store for real-world money. However, CIG have stated that when the game releases, all ships will be earnable in-game. There have also been a number of other fixes, updates and additions. Some of these include added playable ships and vehicles, as well as new weapons and missions. Infinity Battlescape released into alpha access late last month, and this is available to all pledgers who backed at the alpha level. Now, this is a game I'm very excited for, not just for its massive combat potential, but also because of its sheer beauty. Set in a single one-to-one scale star system, Battlescape has a very large play area indeed. Many of these planets are fully landable, and yes, that includes atmospheric worlds and even lava worlds. Combat is PvP focused, and eventually there will be an element of persistence to the game as players gain resources and bases. So what makes combat stand out here is the sheer scale of it. The idea is to have hundreds of players simultaneously available for large-scale battles. These battles will take place in space as well as on planetary surfaces, opening up the possibilities for players to not only destroy enemy ships, but also destroy enemy infrastructure. Available ships will range from small fighters to large-scale capital-class vessels. And now, I also mentioned the beautiful star system that the game is set within. Well, Battlescape makes the most of this with an offline sandbox mode. This allows players to explore both space as well as all the planets entirely free from the fears of being attacked. With full one-to-one scale planets, there is likely to be many stunning locations to discover. Now, I'm going to be taking a very close look at Infinity Battlescape very soon, so do keep an eye out for that. If you have ever wondered what it would be like to fly a ship whilst relying on nothing but instruments and control panels, then Objects in Space may well contain the answer. Released into early access at the end of June, this one is on my list for a close look. In the background, you can see some of my footage from first encounters with the game. It's still far too early for me to give impressions on it, but it certainly appears to be a game that requires thought, consideration and a lot of patience. What is also interesting about Objects in Space is that it is compatible with a custom-made controller. Controller, of course, is putting it rather mildly, and you can see here it's possible to construct a complete, fully functional panel, or many of them actually. Developer Flat Earth's website contains very extensive instructions on how to build these. Whilst they are far from required to play the game, it's undoubtable that they will add a whole lot to it. Objects in Space then is shaping up to be a fully fledged space trading game with a number of very unique twists that arise from its rather unique in-game point of view. The game is available right now on Steam for a price of $19.99. Whilst not arriving until next month, it's certainly going to be the biggest space game release of next month, along with arguably the biggest space game release of the year. No Man's Sky is building up a fair amount of anticipation. After an infamous rough launch, developers Hello Games went on to continue building upon the initial framework of No Man's Sky, eventually forming it into a game that comes pretty close to its initial vision. No Man's Sky Next is going to be the latest update and the largest update for the game. It will coincide with the game's release on Xbox One, whilst the update will simultaneously arrive on PS4 and PC. So far, Hello Games has kept the contents of the update fairly close to their chest, perhaps after learning from what happened after all the hype in 2016. But here's what we know so far. Multiplayer. Teaming up for co-op or attacking other players are both options here. There's no real details on how players will meet up with each other though, and considering just how vast the game is with its quintillions of star systems, then this could well be a problem. It would seem likely though that there will be some form of instantaneous way for players to join each other, or at the very least that would be my hope. Additionally, it's also worth noting that for the past 2 years, players have always viewed their character in first person, so next, for the first time, will allow players to have avatars and customization. Ringed planets are going to make an appearance. Whether this means players will be able to directly access these rings or whether they are just visual additions remains to be seen. It's difficult to imagine what additions ring systems could actually bring to the game though, considering that asteroids are found pretty much everywhere already. Exosuits. Next we'll bring new exosuits for players. Currently the game locks you into the default suit, but it appears that this will be changing with the new release. So there's likely to be far more when the update finally arrives, and before too much longer we should hopefully get to see a trailer. But for now at least, Hello Games are building up mystery and suspense for this update, and it will be available on the 9th of August. That then brings us to an end of this episode. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll catch you guys and girls next time.